Hello, STEM Nation. Jeff here, and welcome to episode number 53 of STEM on Fire, where we interview practicing professionals in the area of science, technology, engineering, and math to help guide students interested in STEM careers. If you like what you hear, please share it with a friend. Now let's get fired up with our guest, Alli, and I hope our chat will help ignite your passion towards a STEM career. Alli Torban earned a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics with a minor in Computer Information Systems from James Madison University and is currently a technical product manager at State of Place, which is a predictive analytics company which quantifies what people love about places. She is also creator and host of the podcast Data Viz Today. Welcome to the show, Alli. Fill in any gaps and share a bit of your personal life.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jeff. That bio was perfect. My personal life, I'm currently living in the DC metro area with my husband and two girls, 4 and 2. So things are a little bit chaotic, but that's me right now.
Yep, sounds chaotic. A 4 and a 2-year-old. My kids are, I think, like 21 and 20. I'd have to confirm that, but yeah, they're getting old. So, Alli, you've got a mathematics degree and also a minor in computer information systems. How important was having that computer information systems along with a mathematics degree?
Oh, I think it was really important. I learned some programming in my math degree, but the computer information systems, it's kind of like, I would describe it as computer science light. It was more business oriented. So I learned some accounting. I learned some Visual Basic, like more business type programming. So I think it really helped. It helped more than I thought it would.
Yeah, so STEM Nation, the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I've talked to some students that didn't really realize the difference between computer information systems and computer science. So, Alli, could you explain a little bit more detail the difference between maybe a computer science degree and then the computer information side?
Sure. The computer science, as I understand it, is more focused on learning different languages and more computer architecture, that kind of thing. And computer information systems, it was actually part of the business school at JMU. And they focused more on doing projects that were real life. Like I learned about databases and how people would use a database in a business to run day-to-day things. And it was just more using software and technology from a business perspective.
So, Alli, if you did not have the computer information systems, and looking at your resume, you've done a lot in the, I'll say, in the IT space. Mm-hmm. If you didn't have the computer information systems kind of minor and you just had a straight mathematics degree, what type of job opportunities would there be available for you?
With just a math degree? Well, honestly, I think I could have done exactly what I'm doing now with just a math degree. I think it just saved me some time, having to run through tutorials or teaching myself or learning from someone else things about databases and more programming. But honestly, when you're on the job and you need to do a certain project and you need to know a certain language or a script or something, you can just Google it or someone else will teach you, or you go through a tutorial. So honestly, I don't think that my opportunities would have changed just because the internet is so vast now. You can find anything that you need to. But the computer information systems definitely did give me a leg up to learning some skills that were applicable on the job, but I could have learned them anyway. So it is useful, but I don't think it really changes in my experience, your career opportunities.
And State of Place, it's a predictive analytics company. Could you explain to STEM Nation what predictive analytics is?
Sure. Basically, pulling in information and trying to forecast it out and predict what a future scenario would look like.
And State of Place is a startup company. And that's another reason I want to talk to you, Alli, is because you're working for a startup and you've also worked for some companies that have been established. What are some of the differences between a startup and a traditional company that's been, in business for a number of years?
Well, the number one thing that I love about startup life is that I get to wear a lot of different hats. Like when I was working for a government contractor, CACI, they have thousands of employees and they've been established for years. So, they hire you for a particular role and you're expected to do that role, which is great. But with a startup, I was doing my project, my technical product manager role. But then, I was also writing blog posts and doing marketing and, helping with hiring and mentoring interns. And it's just a wonderful opportunity to kind of get a really broad view of what it's like to have a business. So I think it's been really fun for me to be able to see what other aspects of running a business are interesting to me. Like I never knew that I would be into marketing, but getting the chance to try that has been really interesting to me, and I've learned new skills.
So do you think you would need experience after college before you go into a startup, or could you go right into a startup right after college?
Oh, I think you can definitely go straight into a startup. I think it was helpful to me to be in a bigger business first, just because I kind of learned how to be a good worker. You have performance reviews and everything is very structured, and it kind of, you have to be there at a certain time every day. So I think those kinds of skills are really great to have. But, not everybody needs them to be successful. It was helpful to me, and I think that it does make you a great employee. But if you have a great idea and, or if you have a very particular set of skills that you're really good at, I think you can go straight into startup life. Another part about startup life is that it's not as stable as a 9-to-5 job. So that is a consideration. So depending on your situation, it might not be that smart to go straight into a startup, but there's no, academic reason that you wouldn't be able to.
All right, Alli, thanks for that great overview. And we're going to get specific here. What is your specific area of expertise?
I'd say my specific area of expertise is analyzing data and presenting it in a way that's meaningful to people. So one quick example is that I recently wrote a article for a local magazine where I did an analysis on the price of homes within a 10-minute walk of metro stations. And then I created a map that showed which metros were most affordable to live near. So I had a question, I used data to answer that question, and then I presented it in a way that people could understand and get value from.
So do you have an artistic streak as well? Sounds like you're doing some visualization work.
Oh, yeah. That is something that I have found along the way, that is something that I enjoy doing, more the creative work.
And also, Alli, you've got a podcast of your own and a website. You could dig into that a little bit.
Oh, yes. I was a more of a software tester and a business analyst for those more defined companies like you mentioned. And then when I was on maternity leave, I started getting into data visualization, and I just kept thinking, oh, I wish I was a data visualization designer and everything. And I had this, I guess this is getting into my aha moment.
Oh, no problem.
I had this aha moment where I was like, I found this quote that said, you are what you constantly think about. And I thought, nobody needs to give me the opportunity to be a data visualization designer. I can just think a lot about data viz and become one. So I started studying it, listening to Data Viz podcasts, reading books, becoming involved in the community. And I actually started my own Data Viz podcast because I wanted to create one that I would want to listen to. I wanted to just see an example of a data viz, and I wanted someone to break down what made it a great data viz. And so that's what I do. I take a really interesting data visualization that I see in the newspaper or on the internet, and I talk to the designer and I figure out kind of what their thought process was, what tools they used, and then I report back and have these short episodes. They're about 15 minutes long. And then I also make my own inspired viz associated with the featured viz. And I have just learned so much. And that's why I started the podcast, because I wanted to become a data visualization designer. And I've learned so much, and it's opened up so many opportunities for me. So I think that my aha moment was that nobody needs to give you opportunities. You just need to start thinking a lot about it and start working towards it, and eventually you'll become it.
And Alli, if somebody wanted to find out more about that, where would they go to find out?
You can go to my website, dataviztoday.com.
All right, awesome. And Alli, what's one thing that really has you fired up today?
Just really fired up about how big Data Viz is getting, that we collect all this data, and there's really no reason to not visualize it and turn it into action. Data doesn't mean anything to anybody if you can't understand it or see what it's telling you or turn it into action. So I am just loving how, like, even newspapers, they have these big graphics teams like the Washington Post and the New York Times. Like, they are really investing in data journalism because they see that there's a lot of power in taking data, visualizing it, telling a story about it.
So, Alli, if you had to give some advice to STEM Nation, let's say we've got some students out there, juniors, seniors in high school, that are really into the arts and are like, I'm an artist. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a STEM professional, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about STEM because I like art.
Mm-hmm.
What type of advice would you give to them as far as it relates to computer science or mathematics and art all intertwined together?
Another amazing thing about the Data Viz field is that people come from so many different fields. Like, there's a lot of computer science people, people who are coding. There's journalists who, don't really have a STEM background necessarily. And then there's also artists and graphic designers who are getting into Data Viz. So I would say a easy step if you're an artist and something like this is interesting to you, but you're a little bit intimidated by kind of like the math and stuff. I would start looking at infographics first, because that is more the difference between infographic and Data Viz. The infographic is more of those like long form graphic design pieces that you see on the internet. That's usually about one topic, and it kind of has some icons and maybe some data visualization like a pie chart or a bar chart, and it kind of gives you information. And those would probably give your artistic ability more a chance to shine, and then you can kind of be dipping your toe in what it's like to create some basic data visualizations. And I would also recommend taking some sort of basic, statistics tutorial online, just so you can start understanding kind of what a proportion means and the mean, median, mode, just kind of some basic math terms so you can start getting used to it. And the more you do it, the more it'll become second nature to you, and you can start expanding the complexity of your visualizations and your infographics.
Yeah, Alli, thanks for that great overview. And we're going to switch gears here a little bit and trying to get through college. So math, to me, it was challenging. I'm a double E, so I went through about 4 semesters of math. And I was glad when that was all done, and you continued on. So what do you wish you knew when you're 18 heading off to college to help you get through college successfully? Well,
I think the basic answer, go to study hours when they're offered, because if you just suffer in silence, that's not helping anybody. But the thing that I wish that I had done in college that would have set me up better in my career is that I wish that I had paid more attention to what I was passionate about. I guess I just assumed that it would just come to me, or someone would tell me what I'm passionate about. But really, you just have to, when you're taking all these different types of classes and doing different projects, there will be aspects of it where you just kind of get lost in it and you're like, I could do this all day. And if you're not really cognizant of that, it's just going to pass by, and you're not going to realize that that was something that you're passionate about and maybe you should start pursuing. Because if you can, have a STEM career, that'll set you up great, because, you get instant cred for being able to, do analysis. And, but if you don't know what you're passionate about, you can't then translate it into a career that you're going to feel really fulfilled in. So I would say I wish that I had just been more cognizant of what I was passionate about when you get in college, you get to dip your toe in so many different things. So just really think about what what lights your fire and what is super interesting to you, because that's unique to you.
As you transitioned from college, thinking about what you really liked in college, and into your professional career, what are some skills or attributes you think are important for STEMers to be aware of as they transition from college into their professional life?
In the past few years, I've started mentoring and managing interns and new hires. And one thing that stands out to me between the people that I've really enjoyed working with and people that I haven't, the people that I enjoy working with, they put 100% of their effort into every task, no matter how boring or if they think it's too easy for them. They just always do 100%. And I think that some people feel like, some tasks are below them. But as a boss, if your intern or your new hire can't seem to do an easy task, there's no way you're going to give them the cool projects. So I would say a great skill to have is to be able to buckle down and do the tasks really well that you find, inconsequential or boring, because they do need to be done. And if you can do those well, you're going to quickly rise to the top and get the cool projects.
Alli, that's great insight for STEM Nation. And STEM Nation, listen to what Alli is saying, because she's in the position where she's monitoring and mentoring younger students and young professionals. So take her advice. And Alli, we're going to take a quick pause and thank our sponsor, Audible, who is offering a free audiobook. You could head over to STEMonFirebook.com. That's STEMonFirebook.com. to get a free audiobook of your choosing. If you decide to cancel within 30 days, there is no cost, and you keep the audiobook. And Alli, it is lightning round time. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best advice I have received is actually from Maya Angelou. She has a great quote. She says, "Success is liking yourself, liking what you do, and liking how you do it." And I just always use that as my guiding star.
And a personal habit that contributes to your success.
I time box all of my activities, because I have found that if you have a task to complete and you don't have a time that you know that it should be done, it'll just take as much time as you have. So when I sit down to do something, I decide what I'm going to produce at the end, give myself an hour or however long I think it's going to be done, and I make sure I finish it, and I plan another activity after it, so I know that it just has to be done.
And a favorite internet resource or phone app?
My favorite internet resource is actually a Twitter account. It is at Becoming Data Sci. This is a Twitter account by Renee Teet, and she actually runs a summer of data science every summer, which is great. She has the whole Twitter community come together, and they make people make their own data science goals. And then throughout the summer, they post about what they're doing, like they're learning a new programming language, they're learning how to do machine learning, all these different things. And then people help each other and share their goals. So it's a wonderful learning opportunity and great to be part of the community.
Yeah, STEM Nation, check out the show notes, and that information will be in there. And Alli, if you could pick one book to recommend, what would that be and why?
My favorite book is called Data Points by Nathan Yao. It is just a wonderful, accessible introduction into data and data visualization.
Alli, and we are about ready to wrap up. If you could share a parting piece of guidance for STEM Nation, and then we will say goodbye.
I would say that just remember that no one owes you an opportunity. A STEM major will give you, like I said, great instant street cred that you can solve problems and do analytical work. But in the end, you need to get out there, figure out what you're passionate about, set goals for yourself, and focus on telling people what you're good at, and you'll have a very successful career.
Alli, and with that, we will say goodbye.
All right. Thank you so much, Jeff.
You're welcome. I hope you enjoyed that chat today with Alli. Head over to STEMonFire.com, subscribe to the email list to keep up with the latest happenings, and be sure to subscribe to the podcast on your favorite podcast player. And please share it with a friend. Tune in next week. We talk with Chris, who is a field applications engineer. Until next time, I hope this chat has helped ignite your passion